Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Lindsay Mitchell. I am the founder of VitalSide, and today we are talking about just how important it is to address acute stress after we have experienced some sort of acute trauma. And I think we all know what that means and what that feels like being here in 2020. So I'm joined today by Beth Misner, Qigong practitioner, and Dr. Daniel Amen. Thank you both so much for being here today. Beth Misner is a Qigong practitioner and founder of Abundant Health. So Beth and I are putting together a practical guide to shift the acute stress response after experiencing some sort of acute traumatic event and how that feels in our body and how we can change it ultimately. So today we have this special opportunity to interview Dr. Daniel Amen, who is a world-renowned brain disorder specialist, psychiatrist, and a 10-time New York Times best-selling author. So Dr. Amen, thank you so much for being here. We're happy to have you. I have read so much about how you're helping people during these times work through their chronic stress, address their anxiety. And right now, I just feel so grateful to be able to address this important and relevant topic and really how to make changes to our brain that make changes to our body.
Dr. Amen is a very good friend of mine and my husband's. He's actually been my doctor in California when we lived there, and he really has helped me overcome a lot. So I'm especially grateful that you're with us here today, Dr. Amen. And I want to ask the first question, because you talk a lot about how the limbic system and the emotional brain can get overexcited during prolonged times of stress or trauma. And I'm wondering if you're seeing that played out in some of the brain scans you've been doing recently with the condition that people find themselves in today. Are you seeing that in your practice?
So what we're seeing is the incidence of anxiety, depression, trauma, grief, insomnia, suicidal behavior just skyrocketed.
Wow.
And it's horrifying, but the level of global stress is so high. And then after the killing of George Floyd, the pandemic turned into pandemonium, and that has skyrocketed everyone's stress further. Plus, we live in a society where people have bad mental habits. And when the pandemic hit, I wrote down mental hygiene is just as important as washing your hands. We need to disinfect our thoughts, kill the ants, the automatic negative thoughts that steal our happiness. And without this good mental hygiene or mental discipline, we're going to suffer now more than ever before.
Now, having these actionable tools that anyone can use to address these negative and these ruminating thoughts is extremely, extremely important. So what are some ways that people at home can shift their anxiety right now? Because, you know, we know that we have the ability to change our genetic expression through this concept of epigenetics, and change our own reactions. So how can people right now deal with the uncertainty and the heightened anxiety?
You're right, genetic vulnerability matters, but it doesn't matter as much as most people think. It's like, oh, I have a mom that's depressed, that means I'm going to get depressed. Right. Or I have a dad who's anxious or temperamental. And as much as anything, it's modeling that matters. And we can remodel our brains sort of like you remodel a house. And remodeling a house takes a lot of work and a lot of effort and some fights with your spouse. But but you can do that same sort of thing with your brain. So the first thing, it starts with, what do you want? And that's one thing people actually never ask themselves. It's like great businesses all have business plans, like, what are we going to do this quarter? What are we going to do this year? What are we going to do, the next 3 years? But people never do that. So know what you want: relationships, work, money, physical, emotional, spiritual health. It's an exercise I do with my patients called the one-page miracle. Know what you want, and then ask yourself, is my behavior getting me what I want? Does this thought, does this action, does this meal get me what I want? And the 3 words I ask my patients to just repeat to themselves over and over again: does it fit? Does it fit? If I do this, if I say this, if I eat this, does it fit with the goals I have for my life? And then new learning helps to remodel the brain, as does hypnosis. I'm a huge fan of that.
Yeah.
Meditation, diaphragmatic breathing, and actually a very specific way. So those people who are listening who are anxious, you should write down 3 seconds in, so big breath, hold it for a second, just to pause, and then 6 seconds out. So take twice as long to breathe out as you breathe in. It triggers an anti-anxiety feeling in your body. It actually triggers something we call a parasympathetic response, which is the opposite of a fight or flight response. So super simple things that people can do, but it all starts with, well, what do you want? And is your behavior or your thoughts or your feelings getting you what you want?
So if you had to identify the one easiest thing someone could do from home to downgrade their stress response, would it be that in-breath, or would it be something else?
Well, I think it'd be just do the thing you'll do. If you
Yeah.
can just take 5 minutes, 2 or 3 times a day, and do that breathing pattern. And during that time, whenever bad thoughts come in, just imagine a big broom and sweep them away. And I really like the ant killing exercise. Ants, again, automatic negative thoughts, is whenever you feel sad or mad or nervous or out of control, write down what you're thinking. And then just ask yourself, is it true? The world is coming to an end. Probably not. I actually love what C.S. Lewis, one of my favorite authors, who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, Mere Christianity, The Great Divorce. He wrote this in 1948 about the atomic bomb. And it totally fits with COVID-19. In fact, if you just replace COVID-19 with the atomic bomb, he said, in many ways, we think a great deal too much about the atomic bomb, so just replace COVID-19. He said, we think we're unique, but we're not. You could have lived in the 16th century when the plague visited London virtually every year, or you could have lived in a Viking age when Scandinavians could have landed on, Britain's shore and slashed your throat any night. We have to stop thinking we're unique and get a grip, is basically what he said. And if the virus comes, well, let it come finding us doing sensible and human things, like bathing the children, playing music, talking to our friends.
Yeah, laughing, right?
Yeah, I love that perspective, because here's the thing: uncertainty is always present. And things may seem right now more uncertain than in the past, but uncertainty is prevalent in every aspect of our lives all the time. And now we seem like we're kind of dealing with it more and more every day, every minute of every day even. But no matter what we're feeling, we can know that those emotions are temporary, and we can understand that life is moving forward. We're always moving forward. And so it's up to us to continue to make that progress and to be in charge and be in control.
So you mentioned the ants, the automatic negative thoughts. You also talk a little bit about TLC. Do you want to explore that, temporary local control?
Well, it's really the research on resilience. So who's resilient and who isn't? And people who are not, especially when the pandemonium hit, they saw we are entering a permanent phase of American culture where, you know, there's this incredible political divide and things are just never going to be okay again. So people are seeing it as permanent. It's global. Yes, the pandemic is global, but they see this problem everywhere they look, and it's outside their control. But governors or president or CDC or whatever, they are controlling me. And that's a prescription for mental illness. It's a prescription for depression. If you want to be resilient, just think TLC, that what's happening now is temporary and it's going to go away. I mean, even if you are a prisoner of war, most prisoners of war who survive realize that no matter how terrible this is now, I'm likely to survive, or I may survive, and it's not always going to be this way. It's not always going to be this way. That is true. And it's local. I need to think, well, what's happening to me in my home, in my neighborhood, rather than see it as a global phenomenon. Yes, it's but clearly affecting some countries more than other countries. I mean, it's just, I like this website, Worldometer, that gives you sort of the daily cases and deaths and hospitalizations and so on. And there's like nothing going on in Italy and Spain, where 3 months ago, they were at the epicenter of the disaster. So clearly, we don't all have the same global, it's not happening everywhere the same at once. And what can I control? And your best defense against this pandemic is your brain and your immune system. Are you making good decisions, making it more likely for you to be healthy and safe? Or are you making bad decisions? I often say in my research, the don't worry, be happy people die the earliest from accidents and preventable illnesses. So I'm like a huge fan of making thoughtful decisions, washing your hands, not touching people you don't know. It's not going to be like this forever. But quite frankly, as an author, and you know, I've done, I don't know, 1,000 book signings over the years. I know Beth, you and Ivan have as well. I don't really like shaking everybody's hands that I don't know. You know, I think having some good physical hygiene, this is a good thing for all of us long term. I actually think the flu season is going to be better this year because we're going to be more thoughtful in how we interact.
Yeah. So would you like to share where a certain resource may be that the audience could go to avail themselves of some more of your brilliance?
Well, thanks for asking. We have 8, soon to be 9 clinics around the country. If people are struggling, we actually think you should look at the brain before you go about changing it. And so people can go to amenclinics.com and learn about our work. I have a brand new book, The End of Mental Illness, that is out now, and it's just loaded with what I call tiny habits. The smallest thing you can do today that'll make the biggest difference. So those would be 2 great resources.
Well, you have changed very many people's worlds, and I'm one of them. Very, very grateful for the work you do and the thousands and thousands of people that you have already helped and the ones you're still to help. We just bless you and thank you for being with us today. Dr. Daniel, amen. So happy to have you with Lindsay and I as we promote healing in your hands. If you like what you've heard here, you're welcome to use the link below to get on the wait list for our program. And we hope we can see you there.